encourage and promote the positive relationship with the universities, having town hall meetings that includes the neighborhoods, working together to develop that positive relationship, be it safety issues in the neighborhood, whatever the area of interest is. Come together, have it every 3 months, whatever the neighbors and the college students think we could be doing. I think it would be a very positive for our community to get everyone to come together. And I think by what we have had in the university system, every colleges are working together, but we can promote the neighbors working together as a combined group.
I guess I pretty much concur with all of what Andrea had to say. We do need to work together. I think with regards to the law enforcement, the officers are not foolish by any means. They know the best place to hunt is where the most victims are, and therefore they go to the university areas to do their business. It's very easy for them to find a group of young adults who aren't too savvy yet having a kegger and there's 35 people out in the front yard. And it's not that hard to figure out what's going on there. So that's why you're targeted, so to speak, is because it's kids in the area. That goes on in other areas around town and maybe not as big a party, and so they don't get caught, so to speak. And I think there could be more warning tickets and confiscation of product, and of course they confiscate it anyhow, but they write the tickets, and those tickets, I think, for a lot of people, a lot of those kids, it's a badge. Not that long ago, last summer, I was at the Barrel Inn, my wife and I were having a burger and fries, and a kid come in and he had a $700 ticket for popping wheelies on his motorcycle and all this, and everybody's going, hey, cool, man, cool, dude, how are you gonna pay for it? Well, I don't know, but we'll worry about that later. And so I mean, that kid was definitely reckless and deserved the ticket, but some of this stuff, I think a warning would go a lot further than the ticket. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because of my work on the Alcohol Oversight Committee, which is differentiated from the task force. The task force set up 19 recommendations. That was a different committee, but within that there was the guidance to have an Alcohol Oversight Committee. It's a whole different thing to come up with what you want to have done. I'm on the Poverty Task Force. We all understand there's a problem with poverty. It's another thing to have to take those recommendations and get them done. In the 4 years that I've been doing this, I've had the pleasure to have 2 of the council members who were from the UWL campus serve with me. Andy Monfrey was the first couple of years, and then J.C. Gamma most recently. What I'd like to work towards, and again, because of being in this capacity as chair and co-chair of the alcohol committee, I'm serving on about 10 to 15 other alcohol committees in the community. And what I find beneficial is the communication at committee meetings, I think, is intimidating very often, even at the tri-campus meetings. I find that we talk about things, and then afterwards, if I get to talk to the students from the campuses, we have a whole different conversation. And what I would like to do is merge those so that we're able to have that openness and honesty. Because I think there's some issues that have occurred and that are ongoing, and they're not unsolvable. And I don't think either side, you would say, in this particular case, when you're talking law enforcement or the city or the campus communities, are not wanting to work together. But I think there's a gap, that there's a feeling that students can't be as open as they'd like to be, and without recrimination. I think they feel like it's maybe going to come back at them, even the capacity as a leader. So again, I would work towards more opportunities for open dialogue. I don't think we're going to solve the alcohol problems. I'm very passionate about them, unless we have that. And so that's what I would encourage.
Mark. Thank you. I think the question is the relationship between law enforcement and college students, and I'm going to be very specific in answering your question. We're the 7th safest city, as I mentioned, in the entire United States of cities under 150,000 people. We also have the lowest violent crime rates in the last 20 years within the city of La Crosse. So I think that there's 2 positives in that we've been very active in community policing. So we need to continue community policing. Certainly community and policing is part of the entire community, but we have to ensure that the students are part of, not apart from, our community. And I think that that's really where we've fallen past, and that I think people treat students differently because they are students, and truly you are part of our community. So through community policing, I think it's very important that we continue to make those students feel a part of our community. Certainly our liaison officer, community liaison officer, and campus liaison officer is an important step. I think that communication, an open line of communication between the campuses and the police department is very important. I also think that we need to look at ride-alongs. I think that the students, certainly those representatives, and I see, I'm a little disappointed that there aren't more students here this morning, but I'm sure that a lot are in class, and maybe you can, through your campuses, get that information back to those students. But I think that ride-alongs are going to be vitally important to get a sense of really what the La Crosse Police Department is all about and what it does, and find out that we don't circle the campuses to try and catch people. We actually are working on community policing, and there's a lot of other aspects. And finally, orientation. I think the police department needs to work with orientation at all campuses so that those incoming freshmen have an opportunity to speak with the police department, communicate with the police department, and have a better understanding of what the La Crosse Police Department does and how they can help them if they ever do need help within our community.
I'll sum up basically my response into one word, and it's communication. Definitely, a leader of mine once told me that what all highly effective organizations do well is they communicate. And that's obviously the #1 issue to promote a positive relationship between law enforcement and students. And this question is, and that's what it says, law enforcement, not the mayor. We'll get to that. So the chief of police and the law enforcement individuals out there that are going to be in direct confrontation with students and making sure that they're enforcing the law and students are abiding by it are the ones that are going to have to put that into place, the communication issue. Certainly I agree with orientation. I went to school and there's first year experience seminars, there's all kinds of orientation that students can go through. Mr. Gallup, I'm sure is aware of places we can put these orientation seminars into place, but it all comes back to communication. We got to be talking, we got to be working. Students will respect officers more when we have that communication line, and there's not a nervous feeling whenever you see a police officer. It should be a good feeling when you see a police officer as a student or an adult. When you see the police officer, you shouldn't be nervous and thinking, am I going to get in trouble here? Because if you're doing what you're supposed to be, you're not going to get in trouble. So I think it needs to be a positive relationship when students see police officers, that they're saying, hey, hi, and police officers are saying to them when they see them outside of the building, there's no reason to assume they're doing something wrong. They're just a gentle, hey, make sure you guys are behaving tonight, nobody driving if you're drinking, and being responsible. And students respect that a lot more, as do all people, adults. When you treat them with respect, and there's an open line of communication. Any relationship we have, whether it's marital, maternal, paternal, communication is the #1 factor that's going to strengthen any relationship we have. So